and welcome to How to Read Music, a very quick yet hopefully helpful overview. The it won't I can't promise you that you will be sight reading after watching this video, but I can promise you that you will understand music sheet much better after this. So let's begin. Let me show you an example of music sheet right here. This is a highly complicated music sheet. And even if I see this, I get scared. But I do understand everything in it because all music sheet is essentially the same. So let's jump to something more simple like this. This is more along the lines of what you will be seeing in my videos. It doesn't necessarily mean that the song is easy, but it's definitely easier than on the last music sheet. So again, my goal is for you to understand what music sheet is about. So let's get started. The basic of the basics is the staff. The staff are those 5 horizontal lines, and each line represents a note. It has spaces in between, and between those spaces, those are notes as well. So a note can be on a space or on a line. For example, let's play 4 random notes. There we go. And those are placed on spaces. You can see the first note goes underneath the staff. You can go way below the staff, or you can go way above the staff. We'll look into that a little bit later. So let's continue. And a good trick, if you have never read music before, is you need to memorize what each note is. A good way to do that is if you know that the middle line on the staff is the B note. Any note that's placed on that middle line is going to be a B. So memorize that, remember that, and then also remember the top line and the bottom. The top will be an F and the bottom will be an E. So with that, you have 3 notes, and you can find notes in between. Let me give you an example. We start with a note B, and now we're gonna climb up all the way to that F that we have marked. So we count up. After the B comes a C, then a D, then an E, and we get to the F. And we can do the same thing counting down. Let's go back to our trusty B. So we count down. The next note down is an A. Then we have a G, an F, and we get to the E. And this technique of counting is the way you're gonna have to start with. I had to go through it. Everybody had. I'm sure Mozart had too. So you can't be born knowing this. So you're gonna have to count up and down, and then with time you will memorize every single note. So let me give you the a C scale. This is the most typical scale. Always played. It's just played on the white keys on a piano keyboard, and it's a series of 8 notes, and we start with a C right here. You can see that C has an auxiliary line because it goes below the staff. Then we have a D, E, F, G, A, B, and we go back to C. This C sounds the same as this one, note-wise, but it's an octave higher. We can do that with it. All C's are the same note, only different octaves. Oh, well, that was an E. Sorry. Anyway, I think the point is clear, and what you need to memorize is this sequence right here. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And this will allow you to see any note. Let's say you have a note on the B, And what comes below the B? Well, let's look. B, A. Okay, what's above the B? A C. What's this next line? And after the C comes a D again. So this loops over and over and over, so it's a nice sequence to memorize and then use when you're trying to find a note on a music sheet. Let's move on to the clefs. We're back to the basic. We have our staff, and then on every music sheet, or sheet music rather, you're gonna have a clef. This symbol here is a clef symbol. It's the symbol of G, and you can see it ends right there. And it should be, if properly done, then it'll end on this line, and this line is a G. That's why it's called the G clef. The G clef is also known as a treble clef because it's used for high-pitched notes. There are different kinds of clefs, and you have an F clef. This is used for low notes. It's a low register clef, and it's also more commonly known as the bass clef. And then there is this clef. This is a C clef, and this is something in between. Very few instruments use this. The ones I know of for sure is violas use the C clef. Cellos sometimes jump to the C clef, and it has different positions, but we don't worry about it. We just use the G clef, and that's one of the big advantages of playing violin. There's only one clef, one staff you have to worry about. I mean, look, this is an example for a piano player. Look at this poor guy. He needs to sight read two staffs at the same time, and they're different clefs. And the difference in the clefs, they're not exactly the same. For example, this F, as you can see the two dots, that marks the F line, but on the treble clef that would be a D, the same line. So each clef is different, and a piano player has to memorize both clefs and be completely comfortable reading them. So just be glad that we are sticking to the G no matter what. That's enough about clefs. It's just background information and for you to know why it's there. The next step is going to be keys. Keys is what makes a song a certain pitch. Like, for example, let's play this song. I'm playing it in A major. Let's go to C major. I'm sure you heard the difference. It's the same song, but it's played in different keys. And keys are important because there are certain instruments that play better with certain keys. And maybe if you're a singer, you want to tune that song up, or you want to tune it down to adjust better to your voice. So that's why keys exist, and also it gives a little bit of a different flavor to each song. Keys are written right after the clef symbol, and it can be either sharps like this, or it can be flats like this. And each sharp or each flat added, or even if there is no sharp and no flat, this is a key in itself, the key of C major. And on the piano, again, just to give you a visual example, C major just uses the white keys on the piano. Each key also has a relative minor scale, which the C major relative minor is A minor. Why? Because it uses the same keys. It just uses the white keys. Let's hear a minor scale. It sounds darker, doesn't it? But it's the same keys as the C major scale. The only difference is that instead of starting it on a C, I'm starting it on an A. So again, this The sharps or the flats in the beginning determine the key the song is going to be played in. Now, if keys don't make sense to you yet, don't worry about it. It's not important. You will understand it with time as we go along. The important thing to remember with these is that the key signature is written right next to the clef, and these symbols mean that, let's say this one is written on an F. See, it's right on the line. And then this one is on the space where the C should be. So we have an F and a C, and these are sharps. And this means that all our Fs and all our Cs will be sharps throughout the entire sheet music, unless otherwise indicated, which we'll get to that later. But that is the important thing. That's what you need to remember. Not so much which sharp is which key and the relative minor. Then you'll understand that on your own. It'll come to you later. You don't need to worry about that. But what is very important is to know that whatever is marked in the beginning, for example here, this is above the staff. This was an, remember, F, that's right. And the note right above the F is a G. So this is a G sharp. And this means that all our G sharps, no matter where they are, even if it's down here or way below here, is still going to be sharp. Okay? And the order of these sharps is always the same. So if you want to memorize the key signatures, you can. It's the same with the flats. They have a specific order. They always are added the same way. It starts with a B flat, then an E flat, then an A flat, then a D flat, then a G flat. Okay? And here is a little graph for you to have a visual cue of the major and minor scales. Like we talked about the one that has no key signature, which is a key signature in itself, and that's a C major scale or the relative A minor scale. Then if we look at the next one, it has just an F sharp, and that means that we will play all our Fs sharp. So G major scale is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. See? Because the only note that's marked as sharp is the F. And now the relative minor would be E minor, and that's a scale we start on E. And again, it's the same rule. It's just the F that we play sharp. So an E minor scale is E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E. See, that scale sounds darker. And the same applies to all of these. The flats is exactly the same principle. It's not hard to understand, but it does get confusing. Now, we have our signatures right here, the keys. And let's stick to the F sharp as an example. And this means all our Fs are sharp. But then maybe the composer, or if you're playing a song, you don't want the F sharp. You want to play it natural. That's where this guy comes in. This is the symbol for a natural note. And this goes right in front of a specific note. And what this does is it cancels out the initial setup. But it only works for this measure. Only for the measure it's in. So we have a D, an F. It's supposed to be sharp, but the natural symbol is here, so we play it natural. And by sharp, I mean a half a tone higher up, right? Flat is half a tone lower. And natural is the exact tone. So an F on the piano, the white key is this. An F sharp is half a tone higher. So in the beginning it's telling me to play this song, but it's been naturalized. So we play the F natural. Then we have an E right here, and then an F again. Since this F is still within the first measure, we know that we have to play it natural again. So we go natural. Now here we begin a new measure. This line divides the M measures. And every time we have a new measure, we default back to the ground rule. So all our Fs are sharp again. So here we have a random B, here we have an F, and this F is sharp because this natural only works for this measure and only for whatever comes after that note. And then we have a D and an A. We don't really care about those. I hope that's clear, and that is important to understand. So if you had trouble understanding that, then go back, revisit, and see it again. I hope I explained myself clearly there. And the next thing we're going to talk about is the time signature. So we know what this is, the clef. We know what this is, it's the key signature. And now we get to the time signature. And those are those funny numbers that are in the very beginning of every score. Sometimes you will see a C or a C with a line through it. Those are special markings. Well, not really that special. I mean, a C means exactly the same as 4/4, but let's not worry about that. Let's just try to understand these numbers. Usually, most songs are 4/4, especially in today's music. And that means that on each measure, like we talked about before, measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, on each measure it wants to have 4 quarter notes or equivalents of quarter notes. So an example would be easy enough right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I mean with equivalence, if we look at this graph, we can see the quarter notes right here. 1 quarter note is the same length as 2 eighth notes. So if this is 1 quarter note, this would be the 8 notes. And this would be the 16 notes. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So 1 quarter note is 4 16th notes. And then we got, this is our basic because it's 4/4. But we can also write one of these because one of these is the same length as 2 quarter notes, and then have 2 quarter notes. That will give us 4/4. We have this note and then this in one measure. Since this is the same as 2 quarter notes, we can play this. 1, 2, 3, 4. See? I hope that makes sense. And then, just so you know, each note also has a value in silences. This is the same graph. These are the quarter notes, but these are rests. So this means that you're not playing the note. It doesn't have an actual pitch. It's just a marking on the sheet music. But it means to shut up. Don't play. Okay? And each rest has a certain value. This is a quarter note rest, so you're just silent for the duration of a quarter note. So let's say we have a measure with 1 quarter rest and then 3 quarter notes. It would be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? Hopefully. These are 8th note rests, and these are 16th, and so forth. Half notes and whole notes. Now let's go back to our rhythmical example. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the same as this. This is still 4/4 because here is 1, 2, then there are 2 8th notes. 2 8th notes equals 1 4th note. So that's 3. And then here we have a 4th note. What? Yeah, well, I think that makes sense. So on the piano, this would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? It's still 4 beats. An even more complicated example would be this. It's still 4 fourths. We got 1/4 here. These 4 count as 1/4 because these are 16th notes. These 2 8th notes are the same as 1/4, and then here we have again 1/4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. On the piano, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then as a last example, let's make the notes longer than a fourth. We got the half notes. So even though there are only 2 notes in this measure, it's still 4 fourths because each one of these has a value of 2. See, we're basing ourselves with the fourth note because that's what this base number is. That's actually a good way to remember it. Base number is the basic. So let's count these. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope that makes sense. And this will make it much easier for you to play rhythmically. Now, I don't know if you notice, but seeing these 2 notes looks kind of messy. Watching these 16th notes makes everything a little bit more confusing. So there is an alternate way of writing these notes and make it easier on the eyes, and that would be right here. Here are the 8th notes. They're joined by a horizontal line, and the 16 notes are joined, all 4 of them are joined with 2 horizontal lines. Why? Because the 8th note has only 1 stem right there, and the 16th has 2. See? And then here we have 8 notes again. So you will see music written this way. Let's go back to the time signature. We talked about 4 fourths, but it could pretty much be anything. And let's see 3 fourths. 3 fourths is what would that be? It would be 3. What's the base is the basic, so quarter, 4. So we need 3 quarter notes on each measure. An example right here. And this is usually used with minuets, Bach minuet and Mozart, and dun, 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 dun. That's 3 fourths. Then a valse, those are usually 3 fourths, and that's why I'm using this example, because it sounds a lot like a valse rhythm. So you can see that it's 3 beats of quarter notes. 1, 2, 3. There is more than 1 note right here, but that just means that the notes are played at the same time. It does not change the length of the note, the beat. It doesn't change the beat. It's still 3 beats. And this example would sound something like this. Can you hear it? Dun 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 dun. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's the 3 fourths. Then we got 6/8 is another example. And let's see if you can figure this one out. I'm going to talk you through it anyway, and you know it. The 8 right here is the bass. That's right. So our bass is 8th notes this time, not 4th notes like the last time, not quarter notes. And what we want is 6 of 8th notes on each measure. And that would look something like this. Usually when it's like this, the 8th notes are joined right there and then right here to make it visually more clean, but I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation and it got too complicated to change that whole thing. So this is, it's kind of like a 3/4, you know. 3/4 is actually equivalent to 6/8. Um, but it's usually played a little faster. There are more notes in a measure. And this is generally used to play arpeggio style. An arpeggio is a chord that's being played note by note. Like, for example, this is the chord, and I'm going to play those notes. Does that make sense? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And again, we're basing the on the 8th notes, not on the 4th notes. But the most common ones are, well, these are the 3 more common ones. Then you can go crazy with the time signatures. But we will be working with these mainly, especially in the beginning. Now, I hope this sheet music right now makes more sense to you. Hopefully you can figure it out. Let's take a quick gander at it. So we know what this is. It's a clef, the treble clef. So that's not going to change for us. Then we need to pay attention to the key signature. Since there is nothing there, we know it's probably C major or A minor, but it's C major. I mean, look at the first note here, it says C. So that's usually a giveaway. Then we've got the numbers. This is our time signature, and it's telling us it wants 3 quarter notes on each measure. And sure enough, it has 1, 2, 3, and then here 1, 2, 3. These 2 8 notes count as 1 quarter note. Here, just straight quarter notes, 1, 2, 3. A half note, so that's 1, 2, 3, and so on. I'm sure you have noticed. If you haven't, you're not paying attention. But I'm sure you noticed that this first measure does not have 3 beats in it. And that's very observant of you and very true as well. But this is a very common thing in music. It's kind of like a jumping into the melody, like a little start, a little push to start the song. And I'm sure you recognize this song. This is I misplayed that one, I'm sorry. But I'm holding a microphone too, so it's not easy. I'm not being patriotic here. It's a recognizable melody, and it's very nicely spread, and one can very clearly see what's going on. Here is the interesting instance. Like we talked before, there is no key signature here, yet it wants us to play this F sharp. It goes from, right? And that is because of what we talked before. The composer needs that F sharp. It doesn't sound right if it were natural. So he put that in front of the note to change just that note and any note that would follow it, as long as it's within the measure. This is the last note of that measure. We're starting a new one here. So new measure goes back to the ground rules, like we talked before. So if there is another F now coming up, here are a couple. There is one. This one is natural because it's a new measure and it goes back to the ground rules. If F's were to be sharp, then it would say here and it would be marked on each line. And the time signature is only marked once, unless it changes. Let's see, here's another F, it's natural, another F, it's natural, another F, it's natural. So this part would sound like I'm sure you recognize that part. And then right here, it plays the main melody again. Do, do, do. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. And it wants to sharpen this F again. Okay? And that's pretty much it for now. There are more details to be explained, like what the hell is this? What is this? What does this dot mean? What does this line mean? And we're gonna get into those kind of things when we play violin together. I'll be reviewing each sheet music, and I'll be explaining every new thing that appears. But at least right now you have a basic concept to start playing. Get your own music sheet or sheet music, and you try as an exercise to write down which note you see on each individual note. It's a great practice, and you will memorize the notes on a staff very quickly. That's how I had to learn, and it went fast. I think after 2 weeks I was pretty much fluent in knowing exactly which note was what. So do that when you're bored, when you're in history class or math. No, I like math. Do it in history class. No, I don't want to condone that kind of behavior, but do it whenever you're bored and you have a second, or it's actually therapeutic and relaxing. So this will give you a good start to start playing the violin, and hopefully I'll see you on the videos. Let's make some music together. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped, and till next time.